Hey everybody, it's Stacy from Stacy's Faith and Stars. Thank you for tuning into my channel and joining me on this series of 31 Days of Joy. And we are in day 3, and we're going to talk about keeping it real with yourself. I wanted to kick off this new year 2016 by hitting the refresh button and just talking about joy, ways to find your joy, ways to keep your joy, because I know for myself personally, like last year 2015, I let some things and some people steal my joy, and I know better and I don't want to do that anymore. So I want to hit the refresh button and you can join me along on this journey. So we're going to talk about keeping it real with yourself. For this topic, keeping it real with yourself, like we can talk about just about anything, like something really as superficial as if you bought some shoes that fit, your feet would hurt and you would have joy if your feet didn't hurt so much every day. I don't know why that's so funny to me, but it is. Or we could talk about something a little bit more substantive. Something like toxic relationships, for instance. Like, are you in a toxic relationship and can you get out? If you're in a toxic relationship, you have to really do some evaluations. And to answer the question, can you get out? The answer is always yes. It might not be an easy yes, but the answer really is always yes if you are in a toxic relationship where that person or that situation is constantly stealing your joy. Because if you don't have any joy, like how can you positively contribute to a relationship or a situation? If you're a parent and you don't have any joy, how can you parent your children productively? Or if you are, if you work and you don't have any joy there, how can you be a productive coworker or employee or supervisor? So you just really have to do some evaluating when it comes to your relationships and the environments that you're in. And when I talk about relationships, we can talk about anything from marriage, boyfriend and girlfriend, business partnerships, social relationships, like friendships, anything that steals your joy on a daily basis or too often. If you are in a relationship and your joy is too often stolen, you really have to think, like, is it worth it? And are you the person who's trying to constantly salvage a relationship? Is it worth it? Are you that person in the relationship where you're trying to salvage it all the time, but the other person isn't? And they're kind of always pulling away, whereas you're chasing down behind them. Like, that's not productive either, and it's draining and it's exhausting. So think about those things. Are you in situations where you can get out because it's not good for you? And if you are in a relationship or a situation that isn't good for you, then you're robbing yourself of your joy, because truthfully, there's nobody else in charge of your joy but yourself. So for me, I know I'm going back to work, and it's not like the job itself is difficult. It's some of the people that are there that literally are miserable. And like my brother-in-law told me, some people, and this does make sense, like some people enjoy being miserable. Like how we hear people always say misery loves company. Like some people really do enjoy being miserable. They like wake up in the morning with a mission to make you miserable, and they aren't satisfied until you are miserable with them, because misery loves company. So I know for myself, if I know that's the game plan, then I should be better equipped to, deal with that person on a daily basis. But I mean, again, keeping it real, sometimes you're gonna fall short, and you're just gonna be like, you know what? I let that person who is totally unworthy get under my skin. And for what? Now I'm over here mad, can't even enjoy my lunch. And I'm over here thinking about you. I'm coming home and I'm upset, and Why? And that person is at home and they chilling. They are so glad that they got you riled up. I work with a person like that. I do. But now that I recognize all these things, I feel like I'm better equipped to face her in this new year. And not just her, in all honesty, it's a couple of people. But, we all face different trials, for certain reasons. Like, I know that I'm in a place now that I'm facing a trial because I have to learn how to manage my emotions and not do, you know, one of these, one of these, all the time when it comes to, things people might say that get under my skin. And I am learning. I really am learning. I'm learning to let things go. I'm learning to let things just roll off my back because at the end of the day, like, what good is it? Like, you're not doing anything for me. You're not contributing to my life in any way. But most especially, you aren't contributing to my life in terms of joy. So if you aren't contributing to my life in terms of joy and in terms of, being productive, I don't have any use for you. And I know that might sound kind of harsh, but again, we talking about keeping it real. And if a person is constantly like being negative and is actually on a mission to steal your joy, then like I really don't have any use for you. Like, let's just be real. Be real. Like, relationships are about give and take. And if you are in the kind of relationship where you're always the giver and the other person is always the taker, you have to evaluate that situation as well. Are you the giver and the other person is the taker? Or are you the taker and the other person is the giver? Like, are you yourself that leech, that one that's always draining? Like how I say, I don't let people draw from my well unless they want to make deposits. If you constantly calling me, hit me up, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, text, I am whatever it is, you always asking for something, but you're never available when I need you, then that's you drawing from my well and you're never willing to make deposits back into me. So you gotta go. So these are things that, can think about for the rest of the year, or at least for the next 31 days. Think about it, toxic relationships. Keep it real with yourself. Are you in a toxic relationship, or are you the cause of a toxic relationship? Especially in marriage. Like, I'm definitely an advocate for marriage. I love being married, but I love being married to Alan. And hopefully, later on, I don't know if it's in this series, but somewhere down the line, y'all will meet him. I love being married to him. And I see people all the time that say, oh, I want to be married, I want to be married. And they're not even in a relationship. And I'm like, no, you don't. You don't want to be married unless it's to the right person. Hear me and hear me good. If you get married to the wrong person, you will be miserable. Trust me. Because marriage ain't for no punks. If you a punk, don't get married because it ain't for you. Sometimes you got to bear down and grit your teeth and grin and bear it until it gets better. So if you are in a marriage and you're the one that's always bearing down, gritting your teeth, and waiting for things to get better, but the other person pretends like, they can do no wrong, everything's all good, it's all rainbows and lollipops, but you're miserable because they don't hear you, they don't see you, and they don't know how to love you, then you have to really do some evaluating. Like, in every relationship, consider doing some evaluating if when you think about that person, the conversation is always negative or the thoughts are always negative. If you're in a relationship, especially a marriage, and you don't have very many positive things to say about your spouse, you really probably truly married the wrong person. And I don't say that to just say, throw your marriage away, get a divorce, run for the hills, but only thing I could tell you is to fast and pray. I am an advocate for marriage, but at the same time, I do believe in divorce. And I don't even know how I got here on this topic, but from keeping it real to marriage and divorce, but that's just where the conversation went. So if you are in a marriage and you're the one who's always trying to set goals and make things better, and no matter how hard you try, no matter what you do, it's never good enough, and you don't have any positive things to say about your spouse whenever it's in conversation, because I mean, like we talk about church folk vernacular. You're unequally yoked. Like if I got a jar of marbles of 100 marbles and you got a jar of like 12, we are unequally yoked. And that's not to say that, you're going to be great at everything your spouse is great at. Like it's supposed to be a balancing act. Like some things that I'm good at, my husband isn't great at, and vice versa. Some things he's great at, I'm terrible at. And it could be something as simple as like, I'm not a good organizer. Like I don't organize things well. My motto is, if something doesn't have a place, I throw it in the trash. Like get it out of here. Like but he does not do. He hates when I throw things away. But that's how I am. If it doesn't have a place, like an actual place for me to sit in, or a drawer for it to go in, then it needs to go in the trash. Or like he's really good with money and I'm not. He's really good at budgeting, but he can tell you I'm getting better, y'all. I'm getting better. In 2016, that's another thing we're gonna talk about is money and budgeting. But I'm getting better. But there's certain things that I'm good at that he isn't. And we balance each other out. We encourage each other. We motivate each other. And I can't stress enough how important it is to marry someone you like. Not just love, but someone you like. Marry your best friend. And I can honestly say that Alan is truly my best friend. Like, I absolutely adore him. Like, last night, we were talking. I was like, Alan, I thank God for you. And he was like, Stacey, I thank God for you, too. I thank God that you ain't no bald-headed scallywag. You got hair in the back. And I was like... See, people think he got good sense. That boy ain't got no sense. He ain't got no kind of sense at all. But that's what I love about him. Like, he keeps me laughing all the time. And so, like, of course, I could just go on and on and on about Alan and how much I adore him. And that's how it should be in any of your relationships. You should just, like, almost like fall into like a trance when you're talking about a person because you love them so much. And I can do that for a number of people in my life because I love them so much and I adore them so much. And so if you are in a relationship and it's toxic, without a shadow of a doubt, you can't like fall into this euphoric trance that I'm talking about, just talking about how much you adore and love this person. And so can you get out of that toxic relationship? The answer is definitely yes. It might not be an easy yes. It might be a very difficult, a very slow yes. But little by little, set a game plan. Make an exit strategy because your joy is so important. It's paramount to your peace. If you don't have joy, there's no possible way that you can have peace. So think about that. Be blessed, my friends, and remember, let your faith empower you to reach for the stars.